Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Jordan Davis Podcast. I am your host, Jordan Davis, and I hope you're having a wonderful Christmas Eve, Hanukkah, Christmas, whatever you're celebrating towards the end of the year. I hope you are enjoying it very much because we got a pretty packed episode today for talking about the review of the Rise of Skywalker. Finally get to talk about this movie. I've been waiting, I've been thinking about this movie, and it should be something cool to talk about because I've seen this movie for about 2 times, and I was really trying to think about what I should say because I wasn't sure if I should do a reaction because I think I just wouldn't feel good about that. I needed to calm down, think about it, watch it a couple of times, get my full thoughts on it because I think a lot of people have been doing that too. So you're going to get my honest, true review about everything in the movie, everything that I think about the end of the Skywalker Saga, about Reylo, about everything that was in here. So, before we get into that, I want to thank everyone that like, comment, and all the subscribers that listen to my podcast and my videos on YouTube. I want to thank you so much, and I appreciate all of you so much. And for the newcomers, for the new followers that are listening to this podcast right now, I want to thank you and welcome. I talk about Star Wars, DC, Marvel, any kind of big movie blockbuster news, you're gonna get it from here. And I can't wait to talk about more big movie news, more movies in the coming months, in the coming of 2020. So, since we got that out of the way, let's get into the review of the Rise of Skywalker. So, I'm gonna do a spoiler-free review, just in case anyone has not seen the movie or they do not know about spoilers or anything. I'm gonna do a spoiler-free review, and after that, I'm gonna go right into the spoilers and tell you fully what I think about each and every moment that has happened in the movie, what stood out, and what I think I don't like about. So, spoiler free. What do I think about the movie? I'm gonna be honest. I was disappointed. I was disappointed. Um, if I'm just judging this on a movie, there's a lot of problems I have with it. There's bad pacing. There's bad editing in my mind. As I watch first 45 minutes, it just goes so fast for me because it never gives you enough time to breathe. To be honest, and I think that's just bad, not just as a Star Wars movie, because you want to really take in each and every scene, but just a movie in general. You want scenes to breathe. You want everything to slow down when they need to slow down. And I have no problem with fast action, but if it's unbalanced, it doesn't work for me. And I think the first 45 minutes of this movie was very fast paced. It was very MacGuffin heavy and plot heavy. And was just, I can't get invested. Just give me the characters. And I think that was my issue with it. Now, the movie was shot great. Um, I don't have any problems with the actors' performances. I think I'll say this right now. Even though in my mind, Kylo Ren slash BenSolo did not get enough screen time as I thought he would. I thought he would. I think Adam Driver still stands out as the best actor in this trilogy, as best character, and even in the saga that is Ben Solo and Kylo Ren. And what we saw in this movie, I have no doubts about that. Um, I thought Daisy Ridley as Rey, I would say it's very close to my opinion of The Last Jedi, because she did a really, really good job at The Last Jedi. And I think her acting in this is really good, really good. Um, but the one thing I have to say that I don't know if this was a J.J. Abrams thing, or this was a Lucasfilm thing, or Disney thing, but I was very upset at how they treated Rose. They barely gave her any screen time, any lines. It was really disappointing of what they gave to her. I really thought that was disappointing because I really liked her character in The Last Jedi and how they treat her here. I would compare how they treated her kind of like Jar Jar. If we all know about the history of Jar Jar, um, how he was heavily involved in the Phantom Menace, and everything after that, he was downgraded a lot. And for me, I think that's a really disappointing thing because I really like the actress. I really like how she portrays Rose. And to go on that press tour knowing that she has very little anything to do with this movie, and she was still a champ. She was still wonderful throughout all of this. I thought that was really great of her. Um, so yeah, I really thought that was pretty cool of her. And so I think mainly my problems are of this movie are the pacing, the editing. Um, I had a problem how they ended the movie. I just think it didn't fit for me. And I also believe that this movie was very um choppy at times because I think there was a lot of scenes that was supposed to be in this movie that they took out at the last moment. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if they're gonna put those scenes on the DVD for special free features. I really don't. But watching it a couple of times, it just seems very, very choppy. And there's things that are missing that just don't add up in certain moments of this movie. And according to the press tour and everything, how it's like and how they were telling us, it didn't match up how the movie was supposed to be. So I think that's why I'm thinking something happened behind the scenes with this movie that they intended to give us one thing, but at the very last second they gave us this movie. And now I'm not saying that it's a bad movie. I like the movie, but I think this movie had so much potential to end the Skywalker saga in a satisfying way, and to me, I did not get that. I did not get that one bit, and I'll discuss why in the spoiler field review later in the podcast. But I just didn't feel that satisfied, and you can see how everyone else reacted to this movie. They were very disappointed coming out of the theater, and it's not just the audience, but I think even the critics as well. You just don't end a big saga spanning over 40 years like this. You just don't. So I think that was my problems with the movie. Uh, so I think the good things what I liked about this movie was Reylo. I think how they handled Reylo with the Rey and Ben scenes slash Kylo scenes was really the strength of this movie. And it really showed, I think, the one of the times they actually tell the truth when promoting this movie that Ray and Ben were the heart of this movie, and they were right. I was invested from the very first moment they had scenes together. I really was. I was very invested. And after seeing this movie, I don't think they needed the mask. I don't. I don't think they needed to regress the characters because I think if we just left off on the Last Jedi kind of relationship that they had and go right into it in the Rise of Skywalker, I thought it would be a whole lot better. I really do. I think it would be a whole lot better for this movie. Um, so I don't think he needed the mask. I thought they should just go right into the complexity and the romance of their relationship. And so I think that was only my negative view on the scenes. Besides what else happens, which I'll talk about in the spoiler review, which I think everyone now knows what happens, but I'm gonna talk about it in the spoiler section. But yeah, Reylo is the MVP to all of this. It's been the MVP through these three movies, and it continued of being that. So yeah, I like that. I thought the battles were nice in the movie. I think past the 45-minute mark, that's when it finally got got better in my mind. That's when it finally got going to really be a good movie, because that first 45 minutes, it was just a choppy mess, and I don't know why they would make something like that. Now, the editing issues did come back towards the end for me, but like I said, the first 45 minutes is just a choppy mess of a movie. I hope they clean up in the DVD special features at giving us deleted scenes. That should be in there, because as we all know, I was very excited to see this movie, and it just did not it just did not come to my expectation what I was expecting of this movie. And yeah, and I think that's the disappointing part for me, that this had so much potential, so much of a potential of being a happy ending, and what happened at the end was very disappointing and very heartbreaking, to say the least. Um, so I think my final spoiler-free review of this movie: a disappointing end to the saga with a lot of potential that was squandered. We had some great Reylo scenes. We had some great action. We had some great funny moments, but just wasn't enough to really save the movie from its bad pacing, editing, and choppiness of it. So that's gonna be my spoiler-free review. So here we go. We're going into full spoilers in five, four, three, two, one. Okay, here we go. We're going to full spoilers. Okay, so BenSolo dying. Not a fan of it. Um, and to go back to the choppiness of it, I think it was supposed to be explained a little bit more. I think there's a lot of scenes missing that really made the sacrifice a lot better, because when I'm watching this movie, it's just something's missing. When I'm looking at some certain scenes, it just doesn't fit. It's not smooth. It's not cohesive, and it just seems like we were supposed to get a lot more scenes of Ben Solo. I don't know what happened in the editing room. I really don't, but I truly believe that we were supposed to get a lot more than what we got. Maybe they got cold feet about letting him live. I I think that was wrong to do. I think if you have a plan, if you have a story to tell that you really want to, you should stick to that plan. Because in my mind, after watching this trilogy, the only plan that they had was the Rey and Ben relationship dynamic. After that, they had no plan for anything else. And you know me, I've been saying they had a plan. They had a plan for Rey and Ben as the heart of this trilogy, but now looking back of it, besides that relationship, they had no plan of what they were going to do with any other of the characters. They really didn't. And that's really sad. Um I did not like Palpatine in this movie, how he was introduced. Um I thought it was very weird how it was, and how they just explained Palpatine in the crawl. I thought it was not good at all. I think the crawl was, in my mind, was horrible. It really was. I just don't think he was used the best way. I thought the actor who played um Palpatine, he was wonderful as it. I just don't think the execution of using Palpatine, which they could use someone else. I really thought they could have used someone else, but they didn't. Now a big reveal in this movie was about what was Rey's parentage, and we found out in the movie that she's a Palpatine. She's Rey Palpatine. Um, and in the movie and how they wrote it, to me, I don't think it works. I because just for me thinking Palpatine having children, having kids, it just I just can't think of Palpatine having kids. Can you? I just can't think of that at all because I just don't think it was, you know, written in the right way. It just felt so forced. All of a sudden, she's a Palpatine. Now, if they showed that in in the Force Awakens in the Last Jedi, I would understand. I would appreciate it. I was like, okay, it's been teased that she's a Palpatine. Now I'm glad they're going forward with it. Kind of doing like a Romeo and Juliet, that kind of thing with Ray and Ben, which it ended up being towards the end, which I don't think it was supposed to be. I think it was supposed to be in Pride and Prejudice kind of ending instead of a Romeo Juliet with Ray and Ben, but I don't think they needed to make Ray a Palpatine. I don't, and I really don't think they should not made her a Skywalker because I think how they did it just doesn't make sense because you're not embracing who you are. You're still running from who you are. And if you just went with Ray, that's it, Ray. I would be happy with that because that's what they've been telling, that she's a nobody. It doesn't matter where she's from. It doesn't matter who she's connected to. What matters is her. She's a nobody. You just need to know she's Ray, and that's enough. You don't need to know her last name. You don't need to know where she came from. I never needed to know what her bloodline is, and I don't know why everyone needed to know. I don't know why everyone needed her to be connected to some famous forced male user. I don't think we needed it at all. I think the story they've been telling, tell the story of her being a nobody. I mean, if you really think of it, Mace Windu was a nobody. Obi-Wan Kenobi at one point was a nobody. I think Ben Solo was really taking that Skywalker legacy role that we all followed. And I think Rey served a different purpose of telling a whole different kind of story in the Star Wars universe. So I just couldn't get behind um the Rey Palpatine reveal. How it was explained, how it was put in the movie all of a sudden, I don't like it at all. Um it makes sense as a Romeo and Juliet kind of thing, but that's not what they were trying to tell. I don't believe that at all. Um So I think another thing that we saw in this movie was the final battle, um, with Rey, Ben, and Palpatine. But if you're gonna be perfectly honest, Ben barely did anything against Palpatine, which I was very disappointed in. Um, I wanted I wanted Ben to at least fight Palpatine. Wanted him to help defeat Palpatine, but he didn't. And apparently it was all the Jedi in her. So if I'm trying to get this straight, so she has all the Jedi in her. If I if I can get that straight, she gets all the Jedi inside of her, able to beat Palpatine. Now that he's dead, does she have all the Jedi in the Sith inside of her? Because for me, I think that really gives the argument of Rey being a Mary Sue. That everything was given to her through this trilogy. Everything was given to her. Um, the power of the Sith, the power of the Jedi, everything, and how her journey ends was not cool, in my opinion, of ending on a desert planet the same way that she started. And when I look at it, she is that old woman in The Force Awakens. She's back to where she started. Yeah, she went on a journey. She really did. But could we tell a difference? She's still on a desert planet. So I think her story was a waste of time. The Rise of Skywalker made her story a waste of time. Even though I love her character, I love the dynamic she has with Ben. And if you think about it, you can make a good argument that this was the story of Ben Solo. It was focusing a lot on Ben Solo. And if you ask me, was he supposed to live? Yeah, I do believe he was supposed to live. Because with the promotion of this movie, with everything they've been setting up, I believe he was supposed to live. I believe he was supposed to be the opposite of Darth Vader. I really do. I believe he was supposed to be totally different than Darth Vader. I thought he was supposed to end much differently than Darth Vader. And even though we got Reylo, even though we got the kiss, which we all been waiting for, and everyone's happy with, after the kiss, he just flat out goes away. He dissolves and never again mentioned. And like I said before, there's a lot of scenes missing of Kylo Ren. And I think this movie tried to please all the people, which that was an impossible task. And I was listening to What the Force last night, and they were describing what this movie was. And I think it was a wonderful way to describe this movie. There is a person in the Bible named Solomon, and he was a philosopher. And there was a point in the Bible where two women came to Solomon, claiming that they have possession of the baby, that one baby is theirs. And so he said, cut the baby in half, you get yours, and you get yours. And one of the women says, okay, fine, I finally get to get my half. But the other woman said, no, I'd rather give up the baby than see this baby die. And I think that was this movie. Disney just cut the baby and gave little portions to everyone. And it turned out being horrible. It really did. It turned out being horrible. And they could not decide of what they wanted to tell in The Rise of Skywalker. That's really disappointing. That really is disappointing. So, like I said, I love the kiss. I thought there should have been more scenes of Reylo in this movie. Um, I just have to point out, Ben Solo was so good towards the end. Oh my gosh. He was the romantic hero that everyone wanted him to be, that Ray wanted him to be. And it was so good. He was just like his father. He used a blaster. He did the no look shot like his father used to do. Oh, his mannerisms were just like Han Solo. He was Ben Solo was better at Han Solo than Poe that being Han Solo in this whole trilogy. Took him 10 minutes to be the best Han Solo in this trilogy. And I wish we had more time. I actually wish we had more lines for Ben Solo because I want him to be that brash and confident Ben Solo that like his father was. And yes, I love in fighting the Knights of Ren, which the Knights of Ren was absolutely useless. So they should just took him out of the movie. Um, but they needed Ben Solo to fight someone. So even though it was cool, the Knights of Ren was useless. Um, but just how Ben Solo was in towards the end of this movie, oh, it was perfection, total perfection. Which I wish we had more time. Now I don't know how this is going to happen. I believe Ben Solo is not dead. after watching it a couple of times, I don't think he's gone. Now you can say BenSolo's essence is in Rey now. That could be possible, but as popular as BenSolo is, and how Star Wars really doesn't care about death anymore, because if Palpatine can come back, I'm pretty sure BenSolo can come back in one way or another. And whatever they do in canon for BenSolo, I think they're gonna bring him back into canon. They're gonna bring him back into the flesh in some way, somehow. And I think they're gonna do world between worlds kind of thing. They're gonna go all trippy on us and find a way to bring him back. And also another thing, I really didn't have a problem with the healing thing. I think it makes sense why um the dark side could never truly bring people to life, because it was all selfish and power and greedy. And for the reason why Ben Solo could bring back Rey, I always thought I could accept it because it was a selfless love act. You were sacrificing your life force for that person to come back to life. And I would really prefer it to be Rey that did resurrect Ben, but it really was a touching moment. But talking about touching moments, oh, the Han Solo and Ben scene, even though it was just a memory, oh, it was so touching. It really was. Probably that was the best acted scene in this whole movie. It was just so amazing. It really was. Oh, it really pulls in your heartstrings, and I almost started to cry. I really did. It was just so emotional as those two characters, and finally Ben coming home and throwing that lightsaber in the ocean. For me, it was everything I wanted and everything I was waiting for, and Ben Solo finally arrived. I just wish we had more time with him. I I wanted him to arrive on the Falcon. I wanted him to have more time of being that Ben Solo that Rey fell in love with in The Last Jedi. And so I think I love Ben Solo. I just wish we got more speaking lines. The last line Ben Solo said was "ow." So he should have much more lines. And I think that was just another thing with the editing. They edited out so many scenes out of this movie. It just did not fit. So, yeah, what else? Oh, and the lightsaber fights between Rey and Ben. I love them. I love when they fought on the Death Star ruins. Um, I thought it was right for them to have Ben to dominate that match or that lightsaber battle. And I'm kind of iffy about Rey stabbing slash killing Kylo Ren, because I don't necessarily think you needed to do that, but it brings up a great metaphor that Rey killed Kylo Ren so Ben Solo can rise, and saying that I wanted to take your hand, but I wanted to take Ben Solo's hand. So that was a great moment, and I think that was the only time that we got those characters to breathe, that to take a moment and slow down and take a moment to really do the scene correctly, because all the other scenes were just quick pace, quick pace, quick pace. It was just, I'm just saying, slow down, okay? They just jammed so many things in there, and so I thought in that particular scene, I'm glad that they, to slow down, take a deep breath, and breathe. And I'm glad they did that for that moment in the movie. So yeah, I think that's what I liked about that. Trying to think what else did I like in this movie or consider spoilers. Um, I think that what only thing that stood out to me. I think the other thing I did not like was how said this before, just how calling herself Rey Skywalker. I did not like that at all. It wasn't necessary. Yeah, it just left a bad taste in my mouth after leaving the movie theater, and so yeah, I wish they didn't do that. I wish they kept to their plan and tell their story what they wanted to tell with the Ben and Ray together, looking at the twin sons and ending the Skywalker how it should have been ended. So yeah, what's gonna be the future of Star Wars? And then I think that's gonna be interesting because they should be releasing what the future for Star Wars on the big screen is going to be, because I think we're going to get, the Obi-Wan series. We're gonna get plenty of Star Wars series on Disney Plus. Um, I think that's mainly what everyone's gonna be focusing on. But in a couple of weeks, they should be announcing what they're gonna do in 2022 for the next Star Wars movie or next trilogy. It could be the Ryan Johnson trilogy. I'm gonna be very interested in that and to see what exactly he's actually going to be doing with his trilogy, because I really do love The Last Jedi and what he did with it, and I just get more excited to see what he's going to do. So yeah, I think that's just a wait and see kind of thing. But for all the Ben Solo fans out there, BenSolo, he is not done yet. He is not finished. He's gonna come back some way, somehow. It could be for the world between worlds. That's how they bring him in. But I just believe in some way, somehow, he is not gone. He's gonna come back, and if that's either through novels, comics, however it is, I believe Ben Solo is gonna come back, and he's gonna reunite with Rey in some way, somehow. So yeah, I think that's really my thoughts on on the Rise of Skywalker, the spoiler kind of what I and did not like. So yeah, I think that will be my thoughts. But before we end the podcast, since it's the holiday season, I'm gonna ask you a question. What is your favorite Christmas movie to watch during the holidays? During Christmas time, during anything that you celebrate? What is your favorite Christmas movie? For me, I have to say It's a Wonderful Life. That's my favorite Christmas movie. Always love watching that movie at this time of year. It's just a really great timeless movie that it's always a great watch. It really makes you appreciate everything that you have towards family and everything else towards this time of the year. And I think it's just a great movie. But tell me what you think. What's your favorite Christmas movie? I would love to find out. Tell me in the comments. Tell me in the comments about what you thought of the Rise of Skywalker. What what were you happy about the Rise of Skywalker? What were you disappointed from the Rise of Skywalker? And what do you think the future of Star Wars is after the so-called Skywalker Saga is over? So I would really love your feedback. So that's going to be the end of this podcast today. I thank you for listening, and I appreciate all all the likes and all the comments that you have given me in past. So until next time, I hope you have a wonderful and great week, and Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy whatever you celebrate. I'll I'll see you next time. This is me signing off.